Hiya, welcome back to the channel. So in the past, people have been following this journey will have seen me do things, stupid things with the airbox and what have you. And one of them is I put a nice ram air filter on there, which actually, I mean, watch that video, it worked surprisingly well, like more than I could ever imagine it actually working, but it was ridiculous and it was going to cause something to fuck up on a major scale. So I went back to the airbox. I've also tried open air filters and what have you versus airboxes, and it's not made a whole lot of noticeable difference that. But in this one, I'm going to do something else that's not going to make any difference. So it's going to be exciting and, well, I'll give you a clue and let's see what actually happens. And phase one is this. Yes, right, I'll try again. Phase one is this high quality carbon effect. As you can see the weave on that. And heat resistant and repellent tubing. Nice and smooth for optimised flow. And this is phase one, this is the airbox. I won't say modification, it's more of an add-on to the airbox. No, it's a modification, yeah, it's a sick modification, right? So I'm going to put this onto here. Now, as you might, observant amongst you might notice that isn't going to fit straight onto there. There is this nice radiused, tubed and tuned velocity stack going into the airbox, which, well, I'm going to cut off. And the reason I'm going to cut it off is because I'm hoping that this will fit onto that, but it won't fit onto it at the end. So if I get this fitting, well, it's a fin, it's a Ferrex, but it should quite easily cut through. Yeah. Yeah. Like so. Then once we've cut it off with the vibratory cutting multi-tool vibrator, I need to get rid of all these burrs off here. And the reason is not for aesthetic reasons or anything else. Notice I was really careful to avoid this wire with the fan. You don't want to get that wire in there with the fan. But the reason for doing this is because if I don't, then it'll affect the airflow. It might mess up the airflow and lose horsepowers. And that is counterproductive of what we're actually trying to achieve, the greatness that we're trying to achieve. Right, I'm fed up of talking shit now, so I'm going to stop talking and cut this off. And now that I've sort of lovingly made this nice and smooth, we can see that the air can rush in there without being, well, without any obstacles in the way. And it is time to test fit our heat-proof thing. Look at that, it's in the way of the wire. But it will fit. So now we've got this onto here, which isn't all that good. Just like that. It's like a small tumble dryer tube. So I'm going to route it somewhere to the back of this, probably around here somewhere. And then mount this like that. So what do I need to do that? Well, so before I do any cutting, I need to get down there, and I don't know if that is how visible that is, but this, just move that out of the way before I end up breaking it before I even used it. Get off. Right, this here, this is part of, just carefully remove that. Now this is like a ducting which diverts the air up to this by the looks of things, but with a bit of carefully applied force, calculated to be applied in the correct location and direction, it can be removed. And now from the front of the vehicle, if we look at it directly through this grille, we can see the alternator and the drive belt and everything, which is all stuff that would get really wet and knackered up if it wasn't going to block this all up. So I've got one of these, which is going to fit, well, it's going to fit that way around, but I'm going to measure it by putting it this way around. So as I said, the idea is to put this around there, something like that, but sunk in. And I ain't sure what I want to do yet, so I'm just going to measure it up. Where's my pen? Which leaves me with something like that. And you know what, this is amazing, this. It's been fucking red hot, dry, nice and sunny all day. As soon as I come out to do this, it started raining and gone windy. It's just so good. I'm proper, my penis is well erect over it. Anyway, let's crack on like being, well, just get the job done. So, as I said, I've measured that. That is where the outside lip is, and it's about 5 mm thick, the lip. Now, I'm not going to chop this one out yet. I'm just going to chop this one out first and see where that leaves me. So I need to cut it somewhere around there. Followed by the same at that end. Yes. And then let's test it. Maybe not actually. Quite, actually, that don't even come out on its own. That is made to fucking measure. So that's quite a good fit. It's not going to fall out, but being the professional that I am, I'm obviously going to put some screws into it, which I'm going to struggle to do whilst holding the phone. So you'll just have to imagine me using that tool to put some screws, and I'll show you where I'm going to put them when I've done it. Which leaves us with this. And as you can see, there's 4 screws on it, it's not going anywhere. And these are actually, I've positioned these specifically to act as like a Venturi effect. So when the air is passing these, where they are and the angle that they're at is very specific to make more power. So in order for any of that to work, need to get a lovely wind tunnel tested piece of tumble dryer tube, and then it fits onto the back of this. It should fit onto the back of this, but it's not fitting onto the back of this. So yes, right, and then I might struggle to do this with one hand, but I'm going to struggle to do this with one hand. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it onto here, and I'm going to put it onto there, and then I'm going to put a cable tie around it, as I will demonstrate on the end that is actually visible. And obviously that is sealed, as you can imagine. That is sealed for the, I don't know, 80 or so PSI that will get inside this tube at 140 miles an hour. So fasten that on there so it doesn't fall off, and then I'm going to route that down to the bottom one and do the other one, which leaves us with something like this. Cut that shitter off there. Can't see what I'm doing at all, but wonderful. Right, so now I've got that attached to there, that attached to there. That is a forward facing cold air intake, and that is phase 1 of this modification. And phase 2 is coming up, but I'll just explain my thinking behind this now. This, as you can see, is facing, well, it goes into there, into the original airbox, and it has a way in, which now it's started raining again, as it always does. We'll test out if the alternator is waterproof on the way home. Like I said, this, if we're looking there, we can see that that is a direct route to the airbox and the air filter. And the reason I've gone with a closed, using the airbox in this way, is because a lot of people I see, they put open air filters on and use cold air feeds to them, and unless you seal the air feed, you are never ever going to benefit from any positive pressure or effective positive pressure from doing 300 miles an hour as this one will. You know, so that's why I've gone for a closed system rather than just a cone filter or a foam filter. You know, an open air filter with a pipe going to it. So, as I said, this is only phase 1 of this. Phase 2 I'll have to do tomorrow because the parts haven't come yet, but it'll be, well, it is going to happen in a couple of minutes. And here we are back for phase 2. And as you can see clearly, I have a hair filter, which I'm trying to remove from a bag. Now, I bought this filter second hand, and I was sort of open to demonstrate, hold on a minute, better. I was sort of open to demonstrate K&N filter. Don't know if it makes any sort of reasonable difference or not, but these are cleanable. Now, it is a little bit dirty, but I was hoping to demonstrate this better. So, now it's a lot dirty. Splashing in the bottle. Splashing in the bottle. And as you can see, now, it's a lot dirty. And this was to demonstrate. I bought this filter second hand, and I thought it's going to have some dirt on it. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate how to properly clean a K&N hair filter, and I'll show that as part of the video. But it wasn't that dirty, so now it's dirtier. I can demonstrate that in a more, well, a more visual manner, for which we need an air filter cleaning kit, a proper K&N branded recharge filter cleaning kit. And this is going to help us to actually clean that filter to make it recharged and full of life again. What do we get in the box? Well, we get some cleaner, not that much left actually, which could cause a problem. And we get some re-oiler and some instructions. For anyone who's interested, this is the instructions on how to do it. So, in case you want to read that, just pause it or whatever. And I'm going to demonstrate this perfectly how to probably not do it right. And for the first part of not doing it right, the instructions don't actually say anything about an airline. They say that we spray detergent on it, we rinse the detergent off with a hose pipe, let it dry naturally, which will take ages, more than I'm willing to wait, and then oil the filter. And do not oil the filter until the filter is dry. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'll start by giving it a bit of a blow job. Now, once I've got rid of any excess dead spiders and shit, I get the cleaning stuff and then sparingly use it, because this isn't mine, this is someone else's. So sparingly use it to douse the air filter until you run out. Letting it soak in nicely. As we can see, I don't know if you can see, but I can see dripping out of it. There is dirt. I don't know if that dirt got on there. Seems like mud, but it is dirty. Then for this next thing, we're going to need a hose pipe. So we just carefully rinse it out. And as you can see, the element or the elephant on the air filter is now white. Taking great care and attention to detail to clean it and not squirt it in your face. And now, as you can see, it's beautifully clean on both sides, if not a little bit wet. And you say it was pink before, now it's clean, so it's not pink anymore. This is my tripod that I'm using, by the way, so let's put that back in there. And and now you're supposed to let it dry naturally, but that requires patience, which I do not have. I'm just going to proceed until this is actually dry. And now I've got it as clean and dry as possible, it's time to put some of this back onto it. If you see the shape of the end of that, if I get it to focus, it's got like a little sort of shape on it. And what I've got to do is I've got to put it on here, and then for each one of these, oh shit, it's got stuck on that one, but you just put it across the edge like that. And you just go run off each one like that. And it'll sort of look like a wick, and it'll soak it all the way into the filter. So I've got to do it on all these on this side, and I've got to turn it over and do the other side. And then when you've done both sides, and it's all soaked in, and you've wiped off any excess you might have, then it will look like, or more or less like, a brand new one. So now, it's time to throw it into the shitter, which I made more difficult by attaching that, so I can't remove the airbox as easily. But if we put it next to the old filter and compare the two, we can see that it's approximately the same size and should fit. That's just nice and struggly. Yes. Once we've made very sure that it's all sat nice and correctly, we can close the airbox and clamp it into place. And that is the installation of our new K&N race filter. And I want to go make some various scientific comparisons to prove or disprove whether this has actually made any difference or not. For which, I'm actually going to use this. Instead of doing a comparison of like, fuck off, get off. Instead of doing a comparison of like how much vary speeds we have, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at hold on a minute, I want live data. Now I've got on my screen and click on my live data, and what I'm looking for is the map, the Manifold absolute pressure, which complete data sheet, where's map? Map there. So see, that's 31 now. If I floor it, because this sensor is in the manifold absolute pressure, the inlet manifold, massive giveaway in the name of it. And what it's measuring is it's measuring the pressure inside the manifold. Now the engine is sucking on the manifold, and then there's a throttle body stopping any air going, or stopping or regulating the air going into the manifold. So now if I put my foot down, see there, and now as the engine speed, right, if you see what happened there, the higher the number effectively has the lower vacuum, if that makes any sense. So the higher the number in the manifold is, like the lower the number, the less air is there effectively, and more of a vacuum is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the same speed, I'm going to go on motorway speeds, I'm going to put my foot down, and I'm going to see what map pressure does. And I'm going to do that with this new air filter, and I'm going to do it with the old setup too. That was a third gear pull from 50 miles an hour, and now I'm going to put this shitter back in and take off the ducting, so we have just a normal airbox again. It was slightly downhill, not that it makes much difference because I'm going to do it in the same place. So when I put this air filter in, I'm going to go do exactly the same thing and compare. So original air filtration reapplied. Let's go try it again. Now, if we compare them them two data sheets, we can clearly see that the intake temperature at the bottom is about 10 degrees colder with the air intake, which is not much of a surprise. But what is a surprise is that with the air intake and with the K&N in, it's not really any different, but it's a tiny bit worse for sort of like airflow by the looks of it. Now, I would be very surprised if that's because of the tube that I've put on and the forward-facing air intake. I would be massively surprised if that's the reason. What I think that is down to is I think I've put too much oil on this. I think because it's just been oiled, it needs to clear some of the oil out of it, and it's probably slightly over-oiled. I think that's my issue. So quickly, what I'm going to do is, or not quickly, but what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put the ducting back on, right, and then I'm going to see with the original air filter and the ducting, just to see what sort of numbers I get with that shitter. And if we compare that information to the previous live datas, we can see that, for one, the temperature, right, ignore the intake temperature. Right before it, I was stuck in traffic and there was a bit of heat soak. Now, this isn't what I'm testing this for. I'm testing for the manifold pressure. And with the ducting on and the original air filter on, it does appear to be slightly better. Now, this is nothing like when I stuck that thing through the bonnet, the air filter stuck through the bonnet. It's not a massive effect like that. It's not like a huge difference. But if we compare the first two, which is the full setup and then the original standard setup, they were done in the same place, really close to each other. And I can see that if you watch them back, or if you see the length of the clips going from the acceleration, it does seem faster with the K&N and the ducting on. It does seem a little bit faster. Probably more to do with the ducting than the K&N. As I said, the K&N, if I look at this now, without the K&N and the ducting, it's the best it's been. So the ducting appears to be doing a little bit. The K&N seems to be counteracting that. Never really been a massive fan of K&Ns, to be honest with you. But I think it will get better because I think I've put too much oil on it. So that's my fault. And also, for my street accreditation, I'm going to install the K&N back again. And then go from there. So, what have we learnt? Well, not a whole lot, as usual. We've learnt that a Citroen C1 is not very fast, no matter what you really seem to do to it, unless you change the engine or boost it, which we've not done yet. And we've learnt that K&N air filters are not particularly the best option. Like I said, I've never really rated K&N filters myself. They're really well made, you know, they are top quality built. I'm not denying that. They just don't seem to have the gains that they seem to, you know, that people buy them for, in my experience. So I might title this "Why K&N's a Shit" or something, just for some clickbait sort of title. And yeah, I think that's what I might do. Anyway, like I said, I am going to put that back in for street creds and what have you, and respect points and shit. And then, in future, the exhaust modifications and the intake modifications, they're not in vain, they are for something. Big changes in the future. Not really big changes. Anyway, that's all for this one. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe. Check out my other videos, there's loads of them. And I'll see you next time.